Available fuel will show the amount of fuel remaining in the boat's fuel tanks with a 10% reserve. The boat's fuel capacity must be entered into the gauge for this feature to function correctly. The gauge is defaulted to 50 gallons capacity. We demonstrated how to program fuel capacity into the fuel management gauge in the setup section earlier in this video. The custom mode will allow the operator to customize the 3 displays. To enter the custom mode, turn the key switch to the on position and the engine off. Press the mode button for 4 seconds, then press the set button to switch to the change settings display. Use the mode button to scroll the 3 displays from 1 to 3. Once the desired display number is shown, choose the combination of data desired from the table and note the number assigned to it on the left. Press the Set button to scroll the display configuration number shown in the top right corner of the screen until the desired number is shown. Press the Set button for 1 second to change the display configuration number and return to the custom mode. Repeat the steps for the other 2 displays or press the Set button for 1 second to return to the normal display. The fuel management gauge can be calibrated if the operator finds a discrepancy in the amount of fuel burned and the total consumption when he refills the boat tanks. This scenario is unlikely since fuel consumption data is based on fuel injection duration inside the ECU, but the capability is there if it is needed. Calculate the percentage of difference documented when filling the fuel tanks. This will either be a positive or negative number. The gauge is capable of being calibrated 7% positive to 7% negative. A positive adjustment will increase the gauge reading and a negative adjustment will decrease the gauge reading. With the engine off and the key switch in the on position, press the mode button for 4 seconds to enter the custom mode. Then press the mode button 3 times to switch between the setting function names. Press the Set button to select the Change Settings display. Use the Mode button to scroll through the calibration values. Press the Set button for 1 second to change the calibration value of the gauge and return to the Custom Mode selection display. Pressing the Set button for 1 second again will return the gauge to the normal display. Enter the custom mode by holding down the mode button for 4 seconds. Press the mode button to switch between the setting function names, then press the Set button to switch to the Change Settings display. The mode button can now be used to scroll the total fuel consumption, fuel economy, and total available fuel. Use the Set button to switch between the units. You can select gallons or liters in the fuel flow and total displays, miles per gallon, nautical miles per gallon, and kilometers per liter in the economy display. The speed fuel combination gauge has all but one of the features included in the separate speedometer and fuel management gauges and has one more display screen than the tachometer, for a total of 5. Remaining fuel is not available with the speed fuel combination, but all other features are retained. The number of available display configurations is much larger than the others since it has so many features. The speed fuel gauge has 36 combinations to choose from when customizing the displays. The numerous choices required a minor change in the customizing procedure. Press and hold the mode button for 4 seconds, then push the Set button to switch to the Change Settings display. Use the mode button to scroll through the 5 displays available. Once the desired display number is selected, press the Set button to scroll the 36 combinations. Here is where the change has been made. The speed fuel gauge splits the two fuel meter columns into tens and ones digits for denoting the display configuration number. The speedometer was similar, but it required counting the number of darkened fuel meter blocks to determine the display configuration number. All other operations of the speed fuel gauge are the same as that on the speedometer or the fuel management gauge. The round command link gauges have less display space than the square type. This required some differences in how information is displayed in order to fit it all on the screen. When the key switch is turned on, all of the round gauges will display 4 zeros across the bottom of the display screen. Then all of them switch to the normal display mode. The round tachometer has 5 displays that show one piece of data at a time. The mode button is used to scroll through the 5 displays. The cooling water temperature is shown on a 6-level scale. If the engine were to overheat, the cooling water icon will blink. Caution: if the cooling water icon blinks, turn off the engine and inspect the water inlets for clogging. If no cause can be found, do not operate the engine and consult your dealer. The battery voltage can be displayed 2 ways. Press the Set button to change between numeric display and the scale. If battery voltage drops to an abnormal level, the voltage value will blink to warn the operator. While in this display, press the Set button to alternate between the total hours and the trip hours. The trip hours, denoted by the T, can be reset by pressing the Set and Mode buttons for 1 second. The cooling water pressure display can only be seen if the optional water pressure sender kit is installed on the engine. The pressure will be displayed on a 6-level scale, and the water pressure icon will be lit. On F-150 and larger 4-stroke models, the oil pressure is displayed on a 6-level scale. Other 4-stroke models will not have their oil pressure displayed, and this screen will not be available. If the oil pressure drops to an abnormal level, the oil pressure icon below the scale will blink to notify the operator. Depending on the conditions, such as when the engine is operated at very slow idle speeds, the oil pressure may be shown as low on the gauge even when the engine is operating properly. HPDI models will have the oil level displayed on the tachometer in a similar fashion as the previous design. There will be 3 square blocks to show ample oil, 2 to show the remote tank being 1/3 full, and 1 to show no oil. When only the 1 block on the left is shown, the oil level icon and the block will blink to notify the operator. The water and fuel icon will blink when water has accumulated inside the fuel filter of HPDI models. If this icon is blinking, remove the water from the filter and reset the warning by pressing the Set or Mode button. The engine's diagnostic codes can be displayed on the tachometer by pressing and holding the Mode button for 10 seconds. The custom mode will be activated after 4 seconds of depressing the Mode button. Continue holding the Mode button once this occurs in order to activate the self-diagnostic mode. When there are no malfunctions, the O1 diagnostic code will be displayed for 3 seconds in the middle of the screen below the RPM display. The tachometer will then revert back to the normal display. If multiple codes are present, press the Mode button to display the next code. Once all the codes have been shown, the Mode button will return the tachometer to the normal display. The tachometer will notify the operator every 100 hours that routine maintenance is needed. The engine total hours will blink when 100 hours have elapsed since the last time the maintenance interval was reset. To reset the maintenance interval, you must first enter the custom mode. The custom mode cannot be entered while the engine is running. Shut off the engine and turn the key switch to the on position. With the engine off and the key switch in the on position, press and hold the mode button for 4 seconds to enter the custom mode. Press the Set button once to select the resetting display, then hold down the Mode and Set button for 1 second to reset the elapsed time to 0 hours. Press the Set button for 1 second to exit to the normal display. All of the gauges will be defaulted to off and brightness level 1 when they are new. To change the settings, push the Set and Mode buttons simultaneously to enter the backlight mode. Push the Set button to turn the backlighting on. Push the Mode button to scroll the brightness levels from 1 to 5. All of the gauge's backlight settings can be adjusted from any gauge since they are in the sync mode from the factory. If no operations are carried out for 5 seconds or more, the display will exit the backlight setting mode and return to the normal display. You can adjust the trolling speed using the tachometer on F50 through F90 model 4-stroke engines. When in the normal display mode, push and hold the Mode button for 1 second. The tachometer will then enter the trolling speed mode. Press the Set button to decrease the trolling speed in increments of 50 RPM. Press the Mode button to increase the trolling RPM in increments of 50 RPM. Press the Set and Mode button for 1 second to return to normal idle speed. The normal idle speed will also be reset once the engine attains more than 3,000 RPM or is shut off. When the engine is warming up, the idle speed cannot be reduced below the specified engine idle speed. The speedometer can display ground speed with GPS or water speed with the triducer or pitot pressure, depending on preference. If both a GPS and the standard speed sensor are installed, the operator can choose which sensor is to provide the primary data for speed. Press the Set button for 4 seconds to activate the speed sensor setting mode. Then press the Mode button to select between GPS off and GPS on. Once the selection is made, press the Set button for 1 second to set the speed sensor and return to the normal display. If GPS is set to on, but no signal is received by command link, then the water speed data from the speed sensor will be used to display speed. A GPS icon will be lit in the top right corner of the gauge when the GPS is set as on. The fuel meter consists of 8 blocks on the right of the screen. The blocks are not split as they are on the square gauge and therefore cannot display 2 tanks at once. Instead, if 2 tanks are connected, the display will represent the average of the 2 tanks. The multifunction display has 7 display screens that can be scrolled by the operator by pressing the Mode button. When the key switch is turned on, the last screen selected before the last key off cycle will be shown. Fuel flow is shown below the speed display as a numerical value of all the engines combined. An arrow will point to the flow at the left of the screen when this display is selected. In the custom mode, the units can be changed between gallons per hour and liters per hour. Fuel economy displays the distance traveled per unit of fuel. An arrow will point to the econ at the left of the screen when this display is selected. In the custom mode, the units can be changed between miles per gallon, nautical miles per gallon, or kilometers per liter. Total fuel consumption represents the amount of fuel the engines have used since the last time the total fuel value was reset. While viewing this display, an arrow will point to TTL on the left side of the screen. To reset the total fuel consumption, press and hold the Set and Mode buttons for 1 second. The display can represent the total consumption in gallons or liters. The total consumption value cannot be displayed if it exceeds 1,999 gallons. If this value is exceeded, the value will blink to notify the operator that the gauge is no longer logging the consumption. If the optional triducer is installed, the water temperature can be displayed on the speed fuel gauge. When in this mode, the word temp shows below the value. The water temperature can be represented in Celsius or Fahrenheit. The water depth can be displayed if the triducer is installed. The data can be displayed in feet or meters. The clock feature is only operational when GPS data is delivered to the command link system. The local time is supplied by the GPS satellite taking geographic location into account. The trip display will show the distance traveled since the last time the trip display was reset. To reset the trip distance, hold down the Set and Mode button for 1 second. The trip display can be represented in miles, nautical miles, and kilometers. As mentioned, the units of measure can be changed if desired. To change the units, enter the custom mode by holding down the Mode button for 4 seconds with the key switch on and the engine not running. Press the Mode button to scroll through the displays. Once the desired display is selected, press the Set button to change the units and return to the normal display. The fuel management gauge can be calibrated if the operator finds a discrepancy in the amount of fuel burned and the total consumption when he refills the boat tanks. This scenario is unlikely, since fuel consumption data is based on fuel injection duration inside the ECU, but the capability is there if it is needed. Calculate the percentage of difference documented when filling the fuel tanks. This will either be a positive or negative number. The gauge is capable of being calibrated 7% positive to 7% negative. A positive adjustment will increase the gauge reading and a negative adjustment will decrease the gauge reading. With the engine off and the key switch in the on position, press the Mode button for 4 seconds to enter the custom mode. Then press the Mode button 3 times to switch between the setting function names. Press the Set button to select the Change Settings display. Use the Mode button to scroll through the calibration values. Press the Set button for 1 second to change the calibration value of the gauge and return to the Custom Mode selection display. Pressing the Set button for 1 second again will return the gauge to the normal display. This concludes our video. If you have any further questions, please consult your local Yamaha dealer. Thank you for watching the Command Link Orientation Guide.